Ladies and gentlemen, imagine you're at a family reunion, and two cousins, let's call them Alex and David, are locked in a heated debate over who Grandpa really was. Was he the town mayor, or just a beloved shopkeeper? Everyone's got an opinion, but the truth lies in the family records. Today, we're diving into a similar debate, one that's echoed through churches and lecture halls for centuries. Who is Jesus Christ? In a theological showdown, Alex O'Connor, a sharp-minded atheist, argues that Jesus never claimed to be God, while David Wood, a passionate Christian, insists Jesus is God himself. As your guide, I'll walk you through their arguments, lean on the scriptures as our family records, and toss in some practical illustrations to make it all crystal clear. Buckle up. This is going to be a journey. Picture Alex O'Connor as a detective, combing through the Bible with a magnifying glass, challenging every claim. He says, "Show me where Jesus says, 'I am God.'" David Wood, on the other hand, is like a lawyer defending a sacred tradition, arguing that Jesus' divinity is woven into the scriptures. But when Alex presses David to point to a specific verse, David's left scrambling, like someone searching for car keys in a messy drawer. No clear verse emerges.
Why do you think that Jesus prays before raising Lazarus from the dead?
The Old Testament says that God is the God of all flesh. If a divine being were to become incarnate, as is claimed of Jesus, and that divine being really became a flesh and blood human being like Jesus, then if he's also had an eternal relationship with the Father, then I don't know if I'd expect him to be an atheist when he entered into creation. So in other words, if the Christian picture is correct, you've got Father and Son for all eternity. Son enters into creation. What's he going to be, an atheist? If he is going to, as part of it is, if he's going to be the ideal human or something like that.
Yeah.
And so
The Son of Man, one might say.
As far as what Jesus is going to do, you would continue the eternal relationship that you've had with the Father, and you would do that through prayer. So,
What I mean to say is, could Jesus have risen Lazarus from the dead of his own accord, on his own authority?
I suppose, yeah.
I suppose.
Because that all authority has been given to him.
It's been given to him by God, right? Which the way that I read that is that the Father has delegated the authority that is rightfully his to Jesus.
So, what's going on here? Are people who say Jesus claimed to be God mistaken? Let's check the scriptures and test this with some real-world examples. First, let's look at God's resume. Psalm 90:4 describes God as eternal, from everlasting to everlasting. Think of God like the universe's oldest oak tree, always there, no planting date. Now compare that to John 1:1-3, which talks about the Word existing in the beginning. A beginning implies a starting point, like the moment you first hit play on your favorite Netflix show. The Word, we're told, is Jesus, the Anointed One. That's what Christ means. He's not eternal like God, but has a launch date in the divine plan. Here's a practical illustration. Imagine you're building a house. The architect, God, has always existed, dreaming up blueprints forever, but the head contractor, Jesus, is hired when the project kicks off. The contractor's vital, but he's not the architect. Jesus, as the Word, is God's top contractor, sent to execute the plan, not the eternal designer himself. Jesus calls himself the Son of Man and says he was sent by the Father. In Isaiah 55:11, God says his word goes forth to accomplish his will, like a delivery driver dropping off a package with perfect precision. Jesus fits this role. He's the Word sent to deliver salvation. He's not God, but God's anointed messenger. Think of it like this. Your boss sends you to a client with a critical message. You're not the boss, but you carry the boss's authority. If you started telling the client, "I'm the CEO," they'd raise an eyebrow. Jesus never claims to be the Father. He consistently points to the one who sent him. This is why Alex O'Connor's argument holds weight. Jesus' own words emphasize his role as the sent Son, not God himself. The baptism moment. A divine announcement. Let's zoom in on a pivotal moment. Jesus' baptism. As Jesus emerges from the Jordan River, a voice from heaven declares, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Notice what's not said. "This is me, folks," or "Meet God Jr." God calls Jesus his son, not himself. Here's a practical analogy. Imagine you're at a school talent show, and your kid just nailed a piano solo. You stand up and shout, "That's my son." You're not saying, "That's me." The distinction is clear. You're the parent, they're the child. God's announcement at the baptism draws a similar line. Jesus is the beloved Son, distinct from the Father. Some folks point to Revelation 22:13, where Jesus is called the Alpha and Omega, and say, "See, he's God." But let's slow down. Proverbs 8:22 describes wisdom, often linked to Jesus, saying, "The Lord produced me as the beginning of his way." The word produced means created, born, or made. Jesus is the first of God's creation, the starting point of the divine project, not the eternal God. Here's an illustration. Think of a company launching a new product line. The first product off the assembly line is special. It's the alpha of the series. But the company itself, that's been around forever. Well, in business years. Jesus is the alpha of creation, the first and finest. But God is the eternal company behind it all. God himself says in Isaiah 43:10, "Before me there was no God formed, nor shall there be after me. No gods before, no gods after. God's the only eternal one." Now, here's a curveball. Alex O'Connor isn't a Christian. Does that mean we should ignore him? Not at all. Truth doesn't care about your team jersey. If a vegan tells you 2 + 2 = 4, they're still right. Alex's argument is rooted in Scripture, and that's what matters. He's not adding his own spin. He's quoting the Bible and asking, where's the evidence?